Every weekend, millions of families leave home to live in ancient Rome, not for an afternoon, not for a guided tour, for years. Kids grow up there, parents build careers there, neighbors spend decades living side by side. Nobody calls it ancient Rome, it's just home. The streets are familiar, the marketplace is where you buy dinner. The marble house across the road belongs to people you've known your whole life. History stops feeling like history. It just feels normal. Then one day, you come back. You walk into your modern home. Only a few minutes have passed, but somehow, you remember an entire lifetime that officially never happened. It sounds like science fiction. Maybe it is. But the first bases of that future are already here. Today, a volunteer lies perfectly still inside a neuroscience lab. Nothing about the room looks unusual. Doctors watch a wall of brain activity. Computers search for patterns. And little by little, they begin turning thoughts into something a machine can understand. Researchers have already reconstructed simple images from brain signals. They've translated silent thoughts into words. They've even started decoding experiences that never left the human mind. Right now, it's slow. It's rough. It's nowhere close to creating another life. But neither was the internet or artificial intelligence. Every breakthrough starts by looking impossibly small. Now imagine those breakthroughs continuing for another 100 years. The goal isn't to send your body into the past. It never leaves. Only your mind does. You don't watch ancient Rome. You wake up there. You learn the language. You go to work. You complain about your neighbors. You celebrate birthdays. You fall in love. You grow old. After a while, your brain stops asking whether it's real, because every ordinary day feels exactly like a memory should. One person spends 40 years living as a Roman citizen. Another crosses the Pacific with the first great ocean navigators. Someone else grows old in ancient Egypt. Then, they open their eyes. Back in the lab, only a few minutes have passed, but somewhere between closing their eyes and opening them again, they've already lived another life. And once people can live entire lives inside history, the future starts to look very different. A child might spend her first day of school beneath the marble columns of ancient Rome. She learns to read by lamplight. She trades snacks with the kid beside her. She complains about homework. She gets in trouble for talking in class. To us, she's growing up inside a civilization that disappeared 2,000 years ago. To her, it's just where she grew up. Years pass. She makes friends, chooses a career, falls in love, and one day, she walks into a marble amphitheater with hundreds of thousands of other students. No graduation gowns, no modern university, just endless rows of young people in Roman clothing, surrounded by parents and grandparents who have watched them grow up in that world. For them, this isn't a performance. They really studied there. They really struggled there. They really spent years becoming the people standing on that stage. And after graduation, they need jobs. So instead of moving to New York, London, or Toronto, some people might line up beneath Roman arches to begin entirely new careers: bakers, blacksmiths, architects, doctors, merchants. The person standing next to you isn't another tourist. They might become your business partner, your neighbor, the friend you complain to after a long day at work. And the strangest part is how quickly all of it would start to feel ordinary. You'd still oversleep, still forget things, still argue with your coworkers, still wonder what you're doing with your life. The world around you may be ancient, but your problems would still feel completely human. Not everyone would choose Rome. Some would choose the ocean. A young couple might begin married life inside a Viking settlement, then spend the next 50 years watching it grow around them. Their children learn to climb wooden ships before they learn to write. Their grandchildren grow up beside a harbor filled with fleets stretching to the horizon. and on their 50th wedding anniversary, the whole family gathers around one long wooden table. The walls are covered with memories from a life built there, storms they survived, voyages they almost didn't return from, children who grew up, friends who grew old. They aren't celebrating 50 years of pretending to live in history. They're celebrating 50 years of marriage inside it. For some people, retirement might become the biggest adventure of all. After a lifetime of deadlines, traffic, and crowded cities, they could choose a quiet village in the Roman countryside, mornings beneath olive trees, books in the afternoon, friends waiting at the local square, no calendar packed with meetings, no phone buzzing on the table, just hills, stone houses, and the slow rhythm of a life that vanished centuries ago. Except now, it hasn't vanished. It's waiting. And maybe that's when this stops being tourism altogether, because a vacation ends when you leave. But what happens when the place you leave behind contains most of your life? Eventually, you open your eyes in the modern world. You return to the same apartment, the same kitchen, the same clock on the wall. Only a few minutes have passed. Your coffee is still warm, but you remember decades. You remember the street where you grew up, the market where you bought bread every morning, the workshop where you spent most of your adult life, the house where your children took their first steps. You remember friends who aged beside you, people you loved, people you lost, and now every one of them is gone. Even though here, almost no time has passed. You sit at your kitchen table, but pieces of that other life seem to surround you. Your childhood street, your wedding, your old home, the faces of people who knew you for 40 years. None of it feels like a dream. A dream fades. This doesn't. The memories are as detailed as anything that happened in the world you return to. And that would change families too. Photo albums would no longer hold pictures from vacations. They'd hold entire lives. A Roman childhood, a Viking wedding, a family that grew old beside the pyramids. One generation might remember more years in ancient Rome than in the century they were born into. Parents would point to a picture and say, "That's where we met. That's the house you grew up in. That's your grandfather before the voyage." Not stories from distant ancestors, their own memories, their own lives. Even ordinary neighborhoods would become almost impossible to understand from the outside. One house belongs to a family living inside ancient Rome. The next belongs to people raising their children in Viking Scandinavia. Across the street, another family has spent decades in ancient Egypt. Back in the modern world, their children still ride bikes together. They still meet on the same sidewalk. They still go to the same park. But every evening, each child returns home to a completely different civilization. History would no longer be one shared past. It would become millions of private lives. And sooner or later, people would begin asking a question no generation has ever had to answer. Which life is the real one? The one where your body was born? Or the one where you spent 40 years becoming someone else? Maybe the answer wouldn't matter, because both lives changed you. Both left memories. Both gave you people you loved. And both became part of who you are. One quiet evening, an old man sits alone in his modern living room. The sun is setting. The house is still. But beyond every wall, the worlds he once called home are still alive. Roman streets remain crowded. Viking ships are still crossing dark water. Ancient temples still glow beneath the evening sky. People are still eating dinner. Children are still growing up. Someone else is standing in the home he once believed was his. Those worlds continue without him, because he was never just watching history. For a while, he belonged to it. Maybe one day, the hardest part of traveling won't be leaving home. It'll be deciding which home to leave.